Design tools for user interface design and prototyping. Visual design and prototyping. The visual design side of the equation is about making pictures that show what the different screens of a digital product, by that I mean a website or web application or mobile application, what those things will look like. These images could contain layout, color, photos, icons, and text content, everything that the user sees when they use the product. The prototyping side of the equation shows how the user navigates from one screen to another and demonstrates how key functionality would work within an application. Not all functionality, but key functionality. Prototypes can include simplified animations to give clues as to the interaction design and answer the question, what can users do with the application? In this presentation, we'll look a little bit at both the design and prototyping tools, focusing mostly on the design tools, but we'll talk a little bit about prototyping as well. The best place to start is with the three big tools, and by those I mean Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. These are Adobe's flagship products for creating visual designs. And if you're very comfortable using any one of these three tools, you could use it to make visual designs for websites, for mobile applications, for web applications, for whatever you want. However, if you don't know these three applications really well, or any of them very well, then I would recommend taking a look at some of the newer tools that are more focused on specifically creating these types of designs, as they've got a simplified set of features and they won't take as long to learn and get comfortable in. You could learn Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign for the rest of your life. These tools are very big. They have lots and lots of features and lots of tools. Again, though, if you're comfortable with them, you could certainly use them. Let's look at each of these tools one at a time, starting with Photoshop. Photoshop is a pixel-based tool, and because the designs we're creating are made of pixels, then it kind of is a natural fit. It's been a favorite for web designers for many years, and I've used it for a long time to create design comps for websites. So it has a lot of really great features for layout, including some new features they've added in the past few years, such as adding artboards feature to Photoshop. Some of the tools that we've enjoyed from some of the other products have made their way into Photoshop. And that makes it kind of a great tool to use for this kind of thing. Again, if you're very familiar with Photoshop already. And of course, Photoshop is great at manipulating images, adding filters, changing the color, those kinds of things is what Photoshop was made to do. So it has those great features built into it. However, the downside of Photoshop, besides it being a very big and complicated tool, is that the tools for type are somewhat limited and a bit confusing to use. And on top of that, you have to do a lot of work to manage all your layers and keep your file organized. And that can be a bit of extra work in Photoshop. All right, let's move on and talk about Illustrator. Illustrator is vector-based, and it is a favorite for a lot of print designers. A lot of print designers eat and breathe Illustrator every day. And they use Illustrator all the time. And if you're one of those people who loves Illustrator and uses it all the time, then using it to create designs for websites, for mobile applications will feel like a natural fit for you. If you're not familiar with Illustrator at all, it certainly doesn't hurt to learn it. It's a great program, but it's got a lot of features and it's got not a steep learning curve, but it takes a while to get used to. It is vector-based, which means that if you create a shape in Illustrator, you can scale it up and scale it down and it will work great across all different sizes, which can be a real advantage as well. Of course, Illustrator doesn't have the image manipulation tools that Photoshop has, so you would still need to manipulate your images over there in Photoshop before bringing them into Illustrator. Um, but um, but it is a really great tool, and you could certainly use it. Okay, in the next video, we'll take a look at InDesign.